drugs, guns, and money.
So I wanted to jump in quick, and I do want to get to the Save the Pastime Act. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting, and we can probably get into the whole heart of it. Maybe not a coincidence that Major League Baseball has announced significant retraction in minor league teams. Right, there's going to be a shortage of minor league jobs. So in addition to that, there's a quote from the Athletic. It's Major League Baseball has long planned to increase minor league player salaries and announced earlier this year that minor league players would be receiving salary increases. So yeah, I saw that quote come out in this week after you broke the news that the Supreme Court was allowing this case to proceed at the trial court level. My take on this is that actions speak louder than words. You can make promises that the minor leaguers would be receiving salary increases, but you're Major League Baseball. You've paid the lobbyists to have the Save America's Pastime Act. You've paid exorbitant legal fees to appeal this for the last number of years. What are your thoughts on baseball's intentions? Do you actually believe that Major League Baseball had actually long planned to increase minor league player salaries, and do they have that intention today?
Yeah, I think the word long plan is probably a little deceptive. Major League Baseball has fought this very hard. This is 6 years of litigation at this point. And instead of doing the right thing and raising salaries years ago, they have been, paying their attorneys, their high-priced attorneys, and have been paying lobbyists. The time has come to fix this problem. And sure, they say they're raising salaries by 38% or something next year, and I hope they do. And 38% is nothing to sneeze at, and it's going to provide relief to a lot of players. But still, with that increase, a huge number of players are going to receive salaries that put them below the poverty line. I mean, we're talking some players are still going to be below $10,000 for the entire year. And it shows just how low salaries were to begin with. So we went back, the nonprofit that I helped co-found, Advocates for Minor Leaguers, went back and looked at some of the salary history of minor league players. And salaries since the 1970s have increased about 75% for minor league players. Inflation over that time period is over 400%. And major league salaries have increased over 5,000%. And the reason we picked that number in the 1970s is that's when free agency came about for major league players. That made such a huge difference. And, it shows, what collective bargaining can do for a group of workers, because they were able to get collective bargaining through the arbitration process, but as a result of collective bargaining. And minor leaguers just don't have that at all.
Yeah, so I did want to touch on that. So it's, it's basically 50 years. I think it was 1970 with the Kurt Flood versus Kuhn decision. So, 50 years later, I mean, I was, kind of saying it in jest. I mean, the only thing that's really surprising to me, at least the Supreme Court decision now 20 years later that they're going to let you proceed, is that nothing has really changed in the minor leagues, at least on a power level, right? It's still not unionized. I know we can get into this. Different sports like hockey have a little bit more. There's a hockey union, right? They have some power. So do you think that Major League Baseball as a whole is on track to increasing the power of minor leaguers? Is there anything in particular that you hope that the union would put in the CBA that would help minor league players?
Yeah, I hope so. The Major League Baseball Players Association, its hands are a bit tied. When you look at their collective bargaining agreements, it spells out what their bargaining unit is. And it spells out that they represent the players on the 40-man roster. And so, how much can they do on behalf of minor league players then? And it's somewhat limited. At the same time, I think there is more that they can do. And also, I think they can go further to help support players in other ways and be more vocal about the need for the minor league players to have representation also. Because that's really what is needed to fix the problem. The lawsuit that's been filed on behalf of players, it's going to provide some real meaningful relief. But in the long run, the best situation is for the players to actually have representation. Because then both sides come to the table, they have to hammer out a deal that works for the industry, that works for both sides. And not everybody gets everything in collective bargaining, but it helps equalize the playing field. Because you mentioned the Kurt Flood decision. One of the things about that is, since that enshrined the antitrust exemption, it has actually had a very big influence on minor league salaries, because it means that unlike any other industry, the major league teams can collude on salaries and suppress them at an artificial level. So, me as an attorney, when I graduated from law school, imagine if all the top law firms out there got together and said, you know what, we're only going to pay new hires $25,000 per year. Like, that would be ridiculous. And there's no way that would survive antitrust scrutiny, because it's an anti-competitive agreement.
The only thing I'll tell you, just to jump in, I mean, they do that at big law firms at least in New York. They cap you out. At least it used to be $180, and they'd cap you there. So there might be some ground there, Garrett. Maybe you're going to get another client.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, the point being, though, this is what the major league teams do, though. They've suppressed minor league salaries way below the market value. It's the exact opposite of a free market. If this was a free market, minor league players would be paid much more. They would be paid their true value then. But this isn't a free market. The teams collude on salaries, and they've artificially suppressed them. So how do you go about evening out that bargaining, that discrepancy in bargaining power? Well, representation through collective bargaining is probably the only way you can really do it.